Does my mic work tonight?
Yes, sir.
Oh, hey, that's good. Well, I guess I'm the fresh meat. So, anyway, my name's Russ, and good evening to you. And I am an alcoholic. I'm kind of a creative type, and I'm an old rock and roll DJ from way back. So, my brain tends to think in songs. So, I was thinking back. There was a song way back in 1978, and it's by one of my favorite bands. It's called Boston, and there is a song called "A Man I Will Never Be." Now, basically, the song is about a man explaining to his wife or his girlfriend that, despite how much he wishes that things were a little bit different, he can't be the man that she wants him to be. So he sings, "You look up at me, and somewhere in your mind you see a man that I will never be." And last night, on the tail end of my 1 year celebration, I was thinking, it's like a man I will never be. It's like looking in the mirror, looking back at me from that mirror. And no matter how hard I try, I will never be a normal drinker. And basically, for decades, I've tried to convince myself that I could somehow be that normal drinker. And I tried to manage it, I tried to control it, and I've tried to explain it away. But frankly, that's the man that I will never be. And tonight we're gonna go way back. I'd like to introduce you to three different men tonight because I've been all three of these men. Today, I am a man of 63 who is rediscovering himself with 1 year of sobriety. And that was earned one day at a time. If anybody is new in this meeting, I came into this meeting literally 366 days ago. I'll go more into that a little bit, but from the start, going all the way back to when I was a teen, I was never a normal drinker. I don't want to get gross or anything, but I was that party till you puke type person. There was never such a thing as one drink, not ever. And as a young man in high school, I had already kind of suspecting that something about myself didn't really line up. Basically, when I drank, I didn't drink the way that other people seemed to drink. I mean, other people, it's like, oh, let's get together, let's have a beer, let's have two beers, two drinks, maybe a little relaxation, maybe have a little laughter, listen to some music. For me, no, it was a little bit different. When I drank, I tend to take things too extreme. And it was never just one. It was always more. And usually one more than I should have had. Basically, it seems to be the way things seem to go. And somewhere along that line, that realization led me to walk into an AA meeting for the first time at about the age of 19. Now, I wish I could tell you that I walked in and I heard the message and immediately, my life turned around. But the truth is, I wasn't ready yet. I spent about a year in AA, and during that time, I listened, I learned, and I still believed, I think deep down, that I would somehow manage this thing on my own. And life moved forward. Responsibilities started to appear. I went to school, started building a career, and for long stretches at a time, I simply stayed away from alcohol. That wasn't the problem. Life gets busy. You got responsibilities. And it wasn't because I had solved my alcohol problem. It was just because basically I understood even then, when alcohol was entering into the picture, things tended not to go well for me. So as a man of 19, I learned something kind of important, that it didn't, even if I really didn't accept it yet, I learned that alcohol had, with me, a very complicated relationship. And somewhere out there was a program called Alcoholics Anonymous that might one day have the answers that I would need. But at 19, I wasn't ready to accept that truth, and just beginning a long journey of trying to prove that somehow, someday, I could be that normal drinker guy. And it turns out it was, well, I wasn't, it was a man that I would never be. So then I was a man of 19 moving into a man of age 40. Life moved forward, as tends to do. Now, way back at 22, I got married to my high school sweetheart. I was young, working full time, trying to build a career. I was in electronics, and it was a life that, it just, life is life. You go to work, you earn money, you come home. But on the outside, things look pretty good, but on the inside, my wife and I, we probably should have never got married. I think I started working a job with a bunch of guys, and they were all married, had children. Seemed like the right thing to do. And that's probably the wrong reason to get married. But the truth is, we tried to make it work, but over time, we just drifted further and further apart. And eventually, she would live in one room, and I was kind of like living in the other room. And we were occupying separate spaces, basically in the same house. But, stayed busy. There's work responsibilities. Times when alcohol showed up every now and then in my life. And every time it did, the same pattern kind of appeared. I started drinking. And once I took that first drink, stopping was not easy. So I spent long stretches simply just staying away from it. And like I said, work responsibility, routine, it just moves you forward. So somewhere about the age of 35, something really unexpected happened. And that was I ran into a woman who would eventually become my now wife. And trust me, I wasn't that type of guy. I wasn't looking for anything. Honest to goodness, I was looking for a friend. I was lonely, isolated, didn't have that relationship that I needed at home. And I was looking for a friendship. And Irene brought something into my life that had been missing for a really long time. Kindness, warmth, sense of that life could be more than what I had been living. So meeting her gave me new courage to face truth about life. And eventually that first marriage ended, and I proposed to Irene, and we began building a life together. We were married 1 day to the year, 1 year to the date that we met. And everything seemed new. I know this is going to sound stupid, but in some strange way, I think I blamed my first wife for my drinking. I know that doesn't make any sense, but it's like, okay, new person. Maybe she was the one that made me drink. Okay, but I'm in a new marriage now. Everything was new. We laughed. We tried new things. We dreamed about the future. I was up for anything. I'm telling you, at one point I even tried rollerblading, and I'm telling you that maybe that wasn't the best thing to do. But the important part of is this: life was moving forward again. I was working. I was trying to be the best husband and partner that I could be. What I didn't fully understand, though, was that issue that I had glimpsed at age 19, the truth about alcohol had never really gone away. I was, what they say, your disease is outside in the parking lot doing push-ups while you're doing life type of thing. It was in the background, and eventually it would bring itself to the front of the doorstep real quick. So let's take a look at a man at 40. By this time, Irene and I had been married together 5 years and start thinking about a family. For 5 years, we'd basically been trying to have a family. We both wanted to have children, and like many couples in that situation, we went through all the emotions, and then the doctor visit, and then the shots, and all the stuff that comes with infertility and everything and it just kind of looked like, I don't know, we're kind of getting up there. Maybe we should be looking another direction. Maybe life had a different plan for us. And after those 5 years, and around that time, I was, like I said, just about age 40, and we started talking about the possibility of fostering. And it might be, we figured we had something to offer. Lovely people, And so it's like, there's a lot of children out there that need parents. And if we couldn't have our own, hey, be more than happy and blessed to, take on that responsibility. But part of that process, if you're not familiar with the foster process, is, they just don't say, oh, here's a kid, and they pretty much turn your life inside out. They come over your house. They look through your cupboards. They want to know that you have, safety plans. We took classes, and then they look into your medical records. They look into your family history. They look into everything. And as part of that process, there was something sitting in my background that I had pretty much forgot about. During one of my bouts a couple years earlier, I had reached out for help regarding what I thought was a drinking problem. And they sent me to a place to be evaluated. And they, I took all these tests and everything, and they sat me down and they said, we think you're an alcoholic. And I'm like, I don't know. It comes and goes. I could go long periods of time without it. We think that maybe you should take an intensive outpatient program or an IOP. And at that time, I literally was working in one county, living in another county, and this would have been 3 nights a week, after work, after driving all day, and then literally driving like an hour and a half to this meeting. And I said, this isn't going to work at this time. And I just forgot about it. Life went on. So basically, when the foster placement review uncovered that information, they pretty much sat us down and said, look, you were told you were an alcoholic and you were supposed to go through IOP. And you didn't. And there is no way that we could place a child with somebody who was labeled or thought to be an alcoholic and did not complete treatment. And I was beside myself. It was a matter of my wife wants to be a mother. I want to be a dad. Having struggles with having our own children. I'm really not struggling with alcohol at this time. And, it's not like I was that bottom drunk or anything. I mean, it's just every now and then when I would drink a little much. That was it. I couldn't put two and two together. So, despite all, and being the dutiful husband, I said, "Fine, I'll take the darn class." So it's a lot like AA. You go into this room 3 nights a week, and they talk about just about every facet of alcoholism or addiction that you could possibly think of. And it's almost like you see on TV. You get in the little circle, and everybody's talking, and everybody says, "Hi, I'm Joe. Hi, I'm Frank, and I'm an alcoholic. And hi, I'm so and so, and I struggle with opioids, whatever." And for like about the first month, every time they get around to me, first of all, I didn't even want to say my name was Russ. I was like, okay, I'm kind of embarrassed to be here. It's like, "Hi, I am Z, and I am here because my wife and I want to become parents." And it's like, they were not real pleased about this. It's like everybody else is admitting to being an alcoholic, and I'm like, no, I'm here because my wife and I want to become parents. That's why I'm here. But I'm telling you, something over time clicked. And basically, I had a counselor sit me down, and he said, there's like this little switch in your brain. And once you reach that point, you can't stop. And it happens to a lot of alcoholics. And I don't know what they said. And between that and there was these mandatory AA meetings, you'd have to get 3 or 4 a week or something like that, get a paper signed. I'm going to AA, and I'm going to these IOP meetings for, the next 2 months at that time. And something clicked. And I started going to AA. And I connected up with a home group, and I started making friends in the fellowship. And it was, honestly, I was doing great. And, it's just that I can't drink. I mean, it's just like you're saying you're a diabetic. It's a disease. It's a condition of the mind. For whatever reason, I don't drink. I'm fine. I don't need it. Don't have to have it. Don't crave it. Could go buy it for somebody. Take the drink. I can't stop. I mean, that's me. So, and everything was just wonderful. It's like, okay, now I'm going to AA for about a year, and then something remarkable happened. After 5 years of trying and believing that it just wasn't ever going to happen, Irene became pregnant. So, I mean, we felt that this was an absolute miracle. And our son was born, and suddenly my life had a new focus. I mean, I'm a husband, I'm a new father, and I mean, I'm hands-on. I mean, I'm doing the diapers, I feed, I wash them up, do the baths, the whole deal. I mean, I was 100% present. And lo and behold, it was 3 years later, my daughter came about. So now I'm a father with 2 kids, a wife. I mean, we're doing all the things. We're watching the videos. Hey, play the video for the 150th time. Okay. Son's sitting next to me. We're eating popcorn. The whole deal. Just, I love that part of my life. It's absolutely wonderful. So, and then, you're raising kids. Now suddenly there's an issue with, well, wife's got to work on Saturday, and that's when my home group used to meet. And I got 2 kids, and it's like, okay, maybe one babysitter you can kind of, but now you got 2 kids, you got to kind of pay people more to watch your kids for that. So I'm thinking, you know what? I'm too busy to drink, And, it's like, yeah, program's important, but, family's got to come first. And I drifted away. And, it's not like it was like Zoom where I could just get on. I mean, the internet was a thing at that time. Actually, I met my wife on the internet. Uh, but um, there was no Zoom meetings as far as I knew at that time. They're in-person meetings, and I couldn't get away. I strayed away. And what I did not understand is that when you step away from the program, you also step away from support, your accountability, your reminders to, help keep other alcoholics grounded. And sometimes all it takes is just one bad day, one FU moment to remind you just how fragile that balance is. So, from the age of 40 to 62, life once again. Here we are. We've moved forward. Irene and I raised our children. We were working hard, as parents do. We were focusing on career, providing for the family. Many years, my identity was tied closely to my work. I had a career in electronics with the state of Ohio. I had been there 32 years at that time. I really didn't have any plan of leaving that job at that time. But technologies change, and suddenly my job was going to be abolished. And I mean, I'm in electronics. They said, well, we could probably make you a delivery driver. We could. No, you don't understand. I'm in electronics. It's what I do. It's what I've done for 32 years. And it's like, you know what? I got my years in. I retired. I retired at age 52. But it wasn't retirement thinking about, oh, well, I'm just, going to go move to Florida or do whatever you do when you retire. I'm going to go and put my resume out there and see if I can get another job. And lo and behold, I mean, a job presented itself here in Iowa, working with the same equipment that I was working with for the 32 years that I was with the state of Ohio. So flew out here, checked it out. Things looked good. Figured, okay. Irene and I sat down and said, all right, well, let's, change things up a little bit. We moved away from Ohio, came out here to rural Iowa. I am kind of like smack dab in the middle of the state and down one county. And it is flat. Lord, it is flat out here. and very rural. Lots of corn out here. Fields, tractors. And in fact, suddenly I went from working on radios in snowplow trucks and those type of vehicles to installing and maintaining radios in tractors and combines and things that I had never seen before. But the premise was the same. But, after 2 years of working here, my health started to decline. And I mean, I was the type of guy who would fix radios on the bench, like little microsurgery things, and all of a sudden I can't see. I wound up with some kind of occlusion in my eye, and, I'm like struggling to see things. And suddenly I became disabled. And I mean, when you define yourself by your career and, it's who you are, it's your identity. I mean, and that's what life is. I mean, life can change in a moment's time. So, that transition was hard. And here I find myself at the age of 62. And I had time. I had lots of time. And the career's behind me. Children are grown up. Both silently, moved past the age of 18. They're adult children now. And that's the next chapter of my story. By the time I reached 62, life had become what it had become. Um, and when the career ends and the children grow up and the house becomes quiet, and you have a lot of time, it just seems something changed. We had all lived through those events that kind of reshaped how we saw each other, how people treated each other. COVID arrived in 2020, turned life upside down, and suddenly the whole country's more divided, more chaotic, a little less kind. And I remember it being when I was younger. And here I am out in the middle of rural Iowa in a city of 500. We literally have 500 people. It's like, one little grocery store, little general store down on the corner here. Kind of a little bit like Walton's Mountain without the mountain, cornfields. So I started noticing something that started happening to me. And the other thing, people were starting to disappear. Favorite rock stars, artists, because people get older. Classmates start disappearing, friends start disappearing, my mentors start passing on. And it's part of life. And little by little, the circle gets smaller. And with the loss of my career and my health, my son turning 21, my daughter 18, I'm starting to live, they're living their own lives, and the world around me is just kind of feeling unsettled. I'm isolated. I'm spending a lot of time alone with my thoughts, struggling with depression. And those things don't always go to good places. And somewhere along the line, I reached a point, and to be painfully honest, I knew I was an alcoholic. I wasn't fooling myself anymore about that, but something else had happened. And basically, yeah, I'm an alcoholic. I don't care. And I'm going to pretty much ride that alcohol vehicle out of here. Frankly, that's where I was at. And I don't know how I start thinking about AA. And I got to tell you, there's no local meeting for me out here. And just something clicked. I'm kind of an internet savvy guy. I said, you know what? Somewhere, somehow, there's got to be an AA meeting online somewhere. And went to the internet, brought me here to AA Home Group. So I don't know. I've probably gone way over my time. I'm sorry about that. But the thing I did want to touch on was I've spent the last year rebuilding myself, regaining confidence, learning to love myself, learning about my faith. A lot of those things changed and in this year. And I'm pretty much going to tie the ribbons on it with this, because yesterday, yes, it was a celebration. I went to my favorite AA meeting. It's every morning. It's online in Orange County, California, from Iowa. I know, I've never been there. They tell me it's nice. A good friend of mine told me, he says, oh, happy birthday, Russ. We're really glad that you were with us, and I want to celebrate with you. And everybody sung me a terrible rendition of happy birthday, as we do. And he says, I want you to think about something. He says, you take life one day at a time. You're driving down the highway. When you see the milepost on the side of the road, what do? Do you stop? Do you camp out there? Or, do you pitch a tent? Do you get out, walk around? What do? No, your life just goes on. You take it one day at a time. That's how you need to approach post 1 year sobriety. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over. I have yacked long enough. Back over to you.